And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com. And by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app and at JBandGoldwaterShow.com. Follow us on social media as well, at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open and are available and ready for you to chime in and be a part of our program over the next couple of hours, just like Wes Mitchell will be, and so will Gene Sapakoff. Wes coming up in less than a half hour, Gene in hour two, and there's a lot to get to today, certainly. The college football coaching carousel continues to spin. Bowl season is in place. Clemson has a ton to discuss within their football program. Obviously, Gene's going to be a part of that conversation today. You got Manny Diaz now officially out at Miami. It looks like Mario Cristobal is almost officially in at Miami, which would the Oregon job open as well. We'll talk about Clemson and South Carolina's bowl destinations. Coastal, of course, is bowling this season as well. There's a bunch of hoops. Carolina had a nice win yesterday over Georgetown, but how nice? I'll tell you. And we'll also take a peek at the net ranking for those that have disagreed with me. The Princeton loss was not as bad as all of you think it was.
So it was still bad.
It's a quad, guys. It's a no.
It wasn't.
Darren. It is a quad. Darren, it is a quad one loss. A quad one loss
for now.
South Carolina against Princeton. That is not a bad loss for those that want to discount it. Georgetown was a loss. Guys, you're not listening. Georgetown was a bad win. Georgetown's net ranking is 247, but everybody thinks it was a great win. Loss against Princeton was not a knocker against South Carolina. It wasn't. Could they have gained? Yes, but it wasn't. Coastal was. That was bad. By the way, just so everybody's aware here, Minnesota is a top 30 RPI team or net ranking team. Lost to Minnesota in double overtime by 7 points. It was not a bad loss for South Carolina on a neutral floor in Asheville. We'll argue about that a little bit later. First and foremost, we were not on the air on Friday, and we had some things come up, so we're happy to be back, and I'm certainly happy to see Darren after an amazing championship weekend. And so welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Darren, and Darren, as far as the top four goes, that they got it right. I will say, I thought that, and this was fair to say. I was talking to somebody about this on Saturday night. I thought that Michigan, if they throttled Iowa, I thought they might, if they throttle them, they might have a chance to say, hey, we should be number one. Should have been in the conversation to be number one. But at the end of the day, I do think it's correct. I think Alabama should have been number one.
They absolutely have an argument to be number one. There's no question about it. What annoys me here is I have zero interest in seeing an Alabama-Georgia national championship game. I mean, none. So this, while this is in front, the committee does this because they don't want to see it in a semifinal. So it may not happen in a championship game. because they've set it up so like at least it's possible that they'd lose before they get there. I just saw that game. I have no interest in seeing that game again. That's one of the reasons that this whole system thing isn't great with the humans able to manipulate things to the best of their ability. Having said that, I'm going to backtrack here and say the way all of this ended, I also have no interest in expanding the playoffs either. Zero. Because the teams that are not in don't deserve to be in. And I don't need to see a bigger playoff here to have them go play against these 3-4 teams to see if they're going to. They haven't played well enough to deserve their spot. I know we're getting expansion. I know it's coming. But this year it would dilute the playoffs if it was here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't really disagree with that. I don't think it's ever really fair to the sport, though, to predict who would and wouldn't win in hypothetical matchups and things like that. Here's kind of what I'll say to that. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just kind of throwing another way to look at this. If you, let's say you had let's say you had the 12-team playoff, because I think we both agree it's probably going to be 12, not 8, right? Yeah, if they expand, it's going to go to 12. They'll figure out how to do that. There's a couple of teams, and I know Baylor barely squeaked by Oklahoma State by like 4 inches. Twice in the game, it was like 4 inches that separated them from losing. I don't know many people that would want to play Ole Miss right now. Of course, that being said, I don't know anybody that really wants to play Alabama right now either. And Cincinnati's going to get their crack, so good luck. I think, Darren, as far as like the road to get there, I would agree with you in the fact that we have the 3 best teams in football. Actually, we have the 4. Cincinnati's in there, so they're one of the 4 best teams in football.
They belong
in the playoff.
Yeah, they belong in the playoffs. They did everything in front of them, and they're the only ones that can say that. Yeah. So I have no problem with them earning their way in. I've said that I don't think the G5 should be included in this situation. They earned their way in. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think the 4 best teams are in there. I mean, I do. Who'd have thunk it when they played back in September that Cincinnati and Notre Dame would finish 4-5? It's amazing, but they did. But if you had a 12-team play, the 12 through 5, the way that it stands today, would be pretty interesting and neat to see, because you'd have Notre Dame and Pittsburgh in a 12-5 matchup, Ohio State and Utah in a 6-11. That'd be pretty interesting there. Utah dismantled Oregon. You'd have 7 Oregon, 10 Michigan State, and you'd have Ole Miss and Oklahoma State in an 8-9 matchup. And I think those would all be really fun. And there is an entertainment aspect to all this. I think we all know, because that's where the money comes in. And so I think you'd have a really fun playoff. But would any of those teams, to your point, Darren, be better than who's at 1, 2, or 3 right now? And I think the answer to that, no, it's no. Yeah. This year, I would say.
The advantage to it, I feel like I'm coming off in a very negative mood today, because I'm about to fire another negative out here. The advantage to, if you actually do expand the playoffs here, is that there are more games that matter, because in my eyes, the bowls don't matter at all. Like, I've said that many times. I don't get overly worked up about bowl games. It's super important to teams and building foundations, and I get that part. Yeah. But it's a glorified exhibition, right? So and it's all for money and filling TV spots when there's really nothing else going on this month. So the craze that's always around bowl season also kind of makes me chuckle. At least if you expand the playoffs, then there's like 4 or 5 games that I would care about.
Yeah, and again, we've gone round and round on this before as well with pretty much everybody, but it would actually expand the conversation. So, like right now with a 14 playoff, you argue, okay, which 4 teams should be in, and should that 5th one be in there? Now, this year there wasn't an argument. After the results of Saturday, we knew who the top 4 teams were going to be. The only true question was, would the committee have enough you-know-whats to pop Michigan into 1, which I didn't think they would, but Michigan did because of a 42-3 win in a Big Ten championship game after beating Ohio State. They absolutely had made a case at 12-1 for being number 1. So that was really the only drama there. But if you had a 12-team playoff, though, Darren, you would have the drama of who's in the top 4, which means you're going to get a bye, and then you'd have the drama of who's 5 through 8, which means you're going to get a home field game in the first round, and then you'd have the conversation of who fills out those last couple of spots. So you're you're gonna lump some type of drama in top basically 16 teams in the country versus right now the top 5 teams in the country, which would make more games more important down the stretch in the regular season and in their conference title games for the college football playoff itself. So I do think there's intrigue there. I hope that bowl season will survive because I'm a fan of bowl season. I love watching it in December. Even some of these weird bowls with like Western Michigan and, BFE. It's still kind of neat to see the teams play. To your point, which I agree with, like let's say, for instance, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which I'm about to tee off on here in just a second. So you're going to have to just give me a minute to get it off my chest. But if Sam Howell opts out of the game, Darren, it drastically changes the ball game. Drastically.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's going, well, he's not out because he's hurt. He's out because he's getting ready for the NFL draft. And outside of Clemson or outside of South Carolina fans who would say, well, we don't care. Everybody else in the country would say, well, we do care. It makes this bowl less meaningful when the best player offensively between both teams isn't in there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it doesn't bother me when players opt out of bowl games at all, because like I just said, I mean, they're glorified exhibitions. If you're a guy like Sam Howell with NFL aspirations and legitimate NFL potential, why play in this game? If I'm Sam Howell, why play in this game? Because it's not like you're the idea of you're quitting on your teammates. To me, it's not like he did it in the regular season, right? He went through the entire year. They had all their goals in front of them, all your cliches, throw them out there. And now you get to this point. How important is it that you go out and win this game, right? I don't know what those conversations are like in the locker room. This goes not just for Howell, it goes for anybody who's not in the playoff. You're not playing for anything at this point. So if you have those aspirations and you have a legitimate shot, why risk millions of dollars to play in a game that doesn't matter? I get that. And that's, I didn't think differently before all these opt-outs started. I mean, I still felt the same way I did about bowl games. So the fact that was my baseline, then me not worried if guys opt out of games. I mean, yeah, because to me, the game is an exhibition anyway.
I mean, on the Carolina side, Sam Howell's a quarterback, so I think there's extra emphasis on that. On the Carolina side, the one player that stands out as a potential opt-out, and from what I understand, that he's not going to do it, but it's J.J. Enagbare. I mean, he's a first-rounder. He's going to be a first-rounder. It's banged up. What does that mean? But by all means, it looks like he's going to play. So to your point, when you got a quarterback who's probably a top 10 pick, it looks like at least maybe with Sam Howell, you got a lot riding on this game that's going to be meaningful to the rest of your career outside of just wanting to play one more with your teammates. And, the grand scheme of it, to you, a meaningless game, but to your team and your program, something that is very meaningful. So it's a tough decision. I'm not a big fan of the opt-outs. I understand them. But in today's day and age of coaches who just, jump and haul rear end whenever they want to for God knows, I mean, it just is what it is. Yep. It's just going to be what it's going to be. We can't really complain about it anymore. I mean, it's where we are. It's not going to change. So, that's kind of that. Bowl season will kick off on Friday, December the 17th. So we're 11 days away from that. The first two games, Middle Tennessee and Toledo. Now, they are in the Bahamas. That's going to be neat. And then you got the tail greeter Cure Bowl, and that is Coastal Carolina in Northern Illinois. Could be a sneaky good one. Northern Illinois, by the way, is 9-4.
What is tail greeter?
I don't know, but we're going to find. That's why you sponsor a bowl, so people will look that up.
I'm Googling it right now.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Carolina and North Carolina, of course, are playing in the the Duke's Mayo Bowl on the 30th, and on the day before that at 5:45 on ESPN, it's Iowa State Clemson in the Cheez-It Bowl. That is your Palmetto State Bowl slate. Remember, boys and girls, that the playoffs this year start on New Year's Eve. So they'll play New Year's Eve that afternoon and that evening for the college football playoff. Shared Healthcare chat lines are open. Today starts 12 days of giveaways, boys and girls. If you head to jbandgoldwatershow.com, you could be the winner of a $100 gift card to Three Seeds Wellness Studios here in Charleston, in West Ashley. As a matter of fact, if you haven't submitted, you've got about 45 minutes or so to do so, and then we'll run this little animated thing that I don't know anything about online, and it'll pick a winner. And then somebody's going to win a $100 gift card this holiday season. We're going to do it again for the next 12 days or the next 11 days that we're on the air. So head to jbandgoldwatershow.com if you'd like to win a $100 gift card to 3 Seeds Wellness Studios, massages, anything, you name it, it's there. jbandgoldwatershow.com and submit here in the next 45 minutes or so. And you can win. 3 Seeds Wellness Studios sponsors the holiday season here on the JB and Goldwater Show. A lot to discuss today with Clemson. There's a lot of conversation about whether Clemson's run in football be coming to an end because of drastic changes in the athletics department. Because it appears Dan Radakovich is set to head to Miami as the AD. So we're going to get to all that. We do have Wes Mitchell coming up with his thoughts on the bowl game, the staff, recruiting, and all that for South Carolina. But I Darren, you know me, man. I'm a pretty positive guy, and it probably rubs some people the wrong way from time to time. I got to get this off my chest. I just can't. I can't handle it anymore.
This isn't Princeton again, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, good.
Look, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I literally, truly love all of you on here, even if we argue from time to time. Like, you're so we have the most passionate audience, and it's awesome. But if I have to hear one more Carolina fan bitch about this bowl game in Charlotte, I am going to pop my head off my shoulders. Seriously. Get a life. If you're that upset about it, don't watch the game. Don't watch. I'm talking directly to you, whoever you are. Like, this might be unpopular. But before the year started, Darren, you included here, not this prediction, but you included, we're much like most of the country thinking, well, they might win 4 games.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't see them here. No.
Last I checked, they won 6. And it was not pretty to get there. But damn it, they won 6 freaking games. They're not going to Birmingham. They're not going to Shreveport. And they're not going to Tampa for the Gasparilla Bowl. Not the Outback Bowl, the Gasparilla Bowl. They're going an hour away from campus to Charlotte. And I'm just trying to make sure here. I needed to check my notes to understand whether I was wrong or whether I was right about this. But it turns out I was right. The last I checked, Bank of America Stadium had nothing to do with South Carolina's crappy performance against Virginia or their loss subsequently against North Carolina to open the 2019 season. It also had nothing to do with the 3 wins that they had in there before they played those 2 games. The last I checked it kind of had something to do with the football team, and the players who put the uniform on and go out and play. And also, the last I checked, Shane Beamer and the large majority of these players had literally nothing to do with any of that. So if you're that oh my God, we're going back to Charlotte, then go sit in a dumpster when they play the game for 3 hours and tell me where you'd rather be. Sitting in a pile of crap or watching a ball game in a stadium for the final time in a year in which a football team that was largely expected to underperform and piss everybody off all year overachieved and got into bowl season. I don't understand this. I don't understand it. If you're a keyboard warrior or a message board hero and literally have nothing else to do in your life but complain about South Carolina football getting into a bowl game with everything they went through to get there, turn your card in. Turn your card in and go pull for the College of Charleston's football teams. You'll literally have nothing to complain about because they don't play football. I mean, I'm so tired of it. And I hear that we've got some good fans chiming in, and I appreciate that. But guys and gals, you can't bitch about this football team anymore. You can't. I mean, I'm going to turn it over to you here in a second, Darren, because you're generally the middle of the road guy. All right. But the last I checked, they won 6 games. This wasn't last year's 2-8 team that got an invite to a bowl game because nobody else could play. All right. They fought and clawed to 6 games, and it was ugly, ugly, ugly at times this year. But they beat Auburn and Florida, and I don't care what was going on with Auburn and Florida. They're in a bowl game. And if you don't like it because it's in Charlotte, then turn your card in. Don't buy season tickets. They don't need you. They don't need you. All right? They don't need you. So, as a Gamecock fan, go freaking Gamecocks against North Carolina in Charlotte in Bank of America Stadium. I can't wait to watch them play one more time. I can't wait to see a kid named, I don't know if Zeb Nolan's going to play or not. I don't know. But you know what? This kid did play this year to help this team get there. And he was a GA. And there's other guys on this football team who literally did everything they could when they were written off by everybody in this fan base to try to get them into the postseason. And this is their final go-round. This is it for them. So if that's not good enough for you, turn your card in, man. I applaud these young men. I understand Marcus Satterfield is a conversation that continues to need to be had as the offensive coordinator at South Carolina. I have no idea what's going to happen there. I don't know. But you know what? Marcus Satterfield, whether he's there or not there, this thing is about the players, period, the end. So if you'd rather go to Birmingham, to drive your ass to Birmingham and go watch whoever the hell's playing in that game, or go sit around in Shreveport, they're going to Charlotte. It's a good town. It's an hour road. Oh, it's at 11:30 in the morning. Yeah, on a day that generally everybody's off. And you know what? If you can't take off work, I'm sorry. Watch it on TV. But don't complain about it. It's a joke, and it's ridiculous, and I'm tired of it. Rant over.
Well said. So you've summed up some of my frustration over the last football season, because I've been sitting here as the Gamecocks have kind of tripped and fallen their way to 6-6 and said, guys, wake up, okay? Your quarterback situation's a disaster. You have a first-year head coach. You've got 6 wins when no realistic person thought you were getting to 6 wins. So you could sit here and complain and have a lot. And I get where it's coming from. But the big picture is the important picture here. The big picture is this team was not good last year at all, right? Beamer comes in. You don't know what to expect. Vegas doesn't expect a whole lot. Preseason media polls don't expect anything. You have a quarterback who gets hurt, and you have to bring a coach off and play him. Then you're playing your third string guy. You win games with 3 different quarterbacks. Look, now you're getting extra practice. It doesn't matter where you play. The majority of people complaining, they're not going to the game anyway. Probably wouldn't be going to the game if it was played at the Citadel, if they lived in Charleston.
Probably don't buy tickets either.
Okay, you're watching on TV. Yeah. So why do you care where it is? That I don't get that. I really don't get that. So either way, you're probably going to watch. I don't understand the complaining. You're at a bowl game. I didn't think you'd be there. I'd have bet a lot of money if I was gambling as much then as I am now that they wouldn't have been here.
Yeah,
but they're here.
Dude, this game matters. And Clint, I hear you. Look, I'm happy with the bowl game, just not in Charlotte against North Carolina. And, he says against North Carolina, they might lose the game. I don't know if they're going to win the game. I have no idea. But it won't be because of the ballpark. It's going to have nothing to do with it. I mean, if North Carolina beats South Carolina, then they beat South Carolina. But they still overachieved, and they deserve people to get on board with them. I mean, come on. And, if anything, there could be a bunch of Gamecocks to fill up that ballpark and help will this team to a victory over North Carolina. Where do you want to be at 3:00 on Thursday afternoon, December 30th, if you're a Carolina fan? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be, oh my God, we beat Auburn, Florida, and North Carolina in a bowl game, and Shane Beamer won 7 games this year? Or do you just want to be still sitting in a dumpster somewhere? I mean, where do you want to be? If you're a real Carolina fan, do your part to help out. I mean, instead of complaining about it, every time these kids get on the freaking internet, they see a bunch of doofuses who have nothing to do in their lives except bitch about everything, complaining about their achievement. This is an achievement for South Carolina. This isn't a failure. They didn't fail. They got there. They didn't fail. Like, they should be rewarded. There should be a line of people helping them board the buses to go to the Queen City. This is an achievement. It's not the achievement everybody wants. Everybody wants to see them beat Clemson and play in the SEC championship game, which they've done once, and go to the playoff, which they've never done. Probably won't unless it's expanded to 50 teams at this point in time, but they might get there with 12. I mean, like, this team overachieved. You know what they did? They promised and they overachieved. They should be rewarded by the fan base. I'm tired of it. Every fan base has people like this, but I get to talk directly to my own. And I totally disagree with all of you that are just down in the dumps about it. Again, if you're going to be that pissed off, don't watch the game and don't come back. And they'll find new fans.
Last I checked, Ray Tanner and Shane Beamer and anybody associated with South Carolina doesn't choose which bowl game and which opponent, right? That doesn't happen. No. Clemson didn't choose its opponent. Penn State didn't choose its opponent.
Nope.
You got to a bowl game and you've been assigned. That's where you're going. It makes no sense to me. I get what Clint is saying. Man,
I love you, Clint. I'm not.
Yeah, no,
Clint,
like,
but
I mean, his point isn't, man, I'm frustrated. Like, he's not down in the dumps. It's more of I want something different, right? Kind of like going back to a scheduling conversation. If I'm going to go to a bowl, I'd prefer to do something I haven't done in a while, as opposed to go to Charlotte and play the other Carolina, like somewhat stale. But that's not the point here. The point here is that this team, not only did they not fail, they overachieved. They overachieved to the point where national media had Shane Beamer mentioned as a possible SEC Coach of the Year. I've brought that up as well. He should be in the running. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he deserves to win, but he absolutely should be discussed in that conversation. There's a reason for that. So if you're upset that you've fallen into this bowl, you fell upwards into that bowl. That's how you got into a bowl, by falling upwards to get into that bowl. There was no falling here. I mean, I'm stunned, to be quite honest. I'm stunned that South Carolina is in a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big game. They're not playing Syracuse. I mean, it's an ACC SEC matchup. That's Duke's Mayo Bowl. Mm-hmm. They're not playing Virginia again. I mean, they're playing a team that you recruit head to head against. That's just north of the border. You know who else they're playing? A team that underachieved this year, big time. Team that was projected to be, by a lot of people, most in the ACC championship game against Clemson.
Oh
yeah. So for the life of me, man, I can't figure it out. I just keep thinking about the players. I talked to a bunch of sources this weekend. This football team is fired up to go play North Carolina. They pretty much knew that's probably where they were heading. I kind of reported this on I'm not a reporter. That's kind of a stupid term, but kind of tweeted it out the other day because I had some good info on that. And they're fired up. They feel like they've been rewarded for what they've gone through this year. They got their ass beat a few times, but you know what? They also won some games, 6 as a matter of fact, and that's what gets you into bowl season. And so, I would hope that, for those that want to claim that this fan base is the best fan base in the country and yada, 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 well, prove it. And even if you look, it's not cheap. It's a couple of days after Christmas. I get that, man. It's a hard time of the year to spend a bunch of money just to get on the road and go watch your football team. I totally understand that. So that, I'm not naive to that. I mean, it's going to be difficult for a lot of folks. All right. And if you can't do it, that's fine. Don't complain about it. You can help that. Don't complain about it. These kids, they deserve people to be on their side. So, for those that are offended, sorry, I don't really care. I mean, to be honest with you, I had to straighten out somebody in my own family this weekend. I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, this is just absurd to me. So hopefully that's going to be a fun game to watch, and, we'll see what happens. But I'm
glad the players view it that way, because they should. That's exactly how they should view it. That's how Shane Beamer views it. That's part of his personality. That is a big part of this team, and the foundation that he's building is the right mentality and the right attitude. They should feel like they've earned something. They did earn something. They beat Auburn and they beat Florida when they couldn't move the ball against Vanderbilt. Granted, they beat them. They accomplished a lot. They should be excited to go play in this bowl game. To them, that's counter a lot of what I said about earlier about bowl games. To them, it does mean a lot, and it should mean a lot, because they've gone through hell in some terms to get to this point and deserve it.
Absolutely. Lisa says she's thrilled that they got to a bowl game, and I can watch my team one more time this season, and they get the extra practice. They deserve this, and hope they enjoy it. And I think that they will, Lisa. I think that's very well said. And I'm with you. We get into mid-January, and all we do is hope and wish for late August to get here every year. So if you have the means to do it, go watch the game. And if you don't, or you can't, for whatever reason, enjoy it, man. Yeah, you know what? If they get the rear ends kicked, nobody's going to enjoy that. I understand that part. But there's no reason on December the 6th, the day after this becomes official, for a bunch of people in this fan base to just lose their lunch because Carolina was rewarded in a border rival game in a bowl game. I, for the life of me, just cannot figure that out at all. All right. It is 12:30 Mitchell is waiting patiently. Again, jbgoldwatershow.com. You can win a $100 gift card to Three Seeds Wellness Studios. You got a half hour to get your name in the running. It's free. It's so easy. Just head to jbgoldwatershow.com, type in your info, and then here in the block hour, I get this little button. I found this neat little gadget. You hit it, and it scrolls through the names, and then somebody wins it. So somebody's going to win $100 today.
Nice.
For day one of our 12-day giveaways. Timeout. Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central, up next.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Nobody really wants to work. Including Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central 34 Monday afternoon. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing?
We're fine. I had a moment, but hey, Carolina's in bowl season, so that is good news. Carolina, North Carolina, 11:30, December 30th. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, it's a chance for Carolina to get to 7. Have a winning season. Two teams probably, I would say, that will be fairly evenly matched. Maybe a chance for the Gamecocks to exorcise some demons from Charlotte. I know it hasn't been kind to the Gamecocks as of late. And, the last time these two teams played, I sort of still mark that as the beginning of the end of the Will Muschamp era. So, intriguing matchup and a chance to get to 7 for South Carolina was sort of my initial thought on this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the external factors here outside of just the win column, though, Wes. I mean, you've got a team that, since Mac Brown has arrived in Chapel Hill, they directly are recruiting against directly a lot of the same players. There's been a lot of momentum around this Tar Heel team the last couple of seasons. They've underachieved this year by all accounts, but they have great quarterback in Sam Howell as long as he plays in the game. You're talking about bragging rights. You got a lot of stuff that goes into this because it's North Carolina and South Carolina. And I know that some people are tired of seeing these two teams play. But I mean, at the end of the day, a lot better if you win it than if you lose it, Wes. I mean, there's a lot that matters in this game.
Yeah, I think deep down, Gamecock fans are probably tired of South Carolina losing in Charlotte and not playing well. I think if South Carolina was beating the brakes off of North Carolina, the fans probably would be happy to see this matchup, pretty often. I think, you look at, in my opinion, South Carolina has got to find a way to break back into North Carolina as a recruiting territory. We were actually setting our coverage for next Wednesday. And Kendall Smith, our excellent intern who is from Charlotte, I was trying to find somewhere close to home to send her to go cover. And I said, wait a second. There's not a single signee or future signee, current commitment, in this class from the state of North Carolina. And I said, that used to not be the case. And a big reason for that is Mac Brown came in, established, really every coach talks about it. Oh, I'm going to build a fence around my state. Well, Mac Brown has done that, and he's made it very difficult on not just South Carolina, it's everybody. It makes it difficult on them to come into that state and sign the top players. And really, the Tar Heels had some momentum on the recruiting trail. They still do on the recruiting side, but this season has certainly not gone the way it was expected to. Preseason, that's a very good thing for South Carolina. This is an opportunity for South Carolina. I don't want to say a win will bury that program. That's too dramatic, but it's really an opportunity for Carolina to reset things as far as how these two programs are looked at in recruiting. And ultimately, the sooner Mac Brown leaves and sort of goes back into TV, the better for the Gamecocks. Because if you're talking about the blueprint for how to build a roster at South Carolina, guess what? UGA is close to an all-time high. So that's the state below you. Clemson has been outstanding, the last 5 years. That's who you share your state with. And now the state to your north has had Mac Brown recruiting, really, I would say, on paper as well as they have ever recruited. So it makes it very difficult on South Carolina as far as where do you go get top players. And so I think that the quicker North Carolina falls back to sort of being – I grew up thinking of North Carolina as like a mediocre, middle-of-the-pack ACC football program. The quicker the recruits see them as that again, the better it is for South Carolina.
You both have covered recruiting and followed it much more closely than me for a lot longer than I have. How much can a win in a game like this impact recruiting? Say like next year's class, like 2023, just one game. How much can this impact it?
One game rarely is much of an impact, in my opinion. But I do think if you're South Carolina, it gives you something to point to. Maybe a few kids from the state or from Charlotte come to the game and you play well, and they say, "Oh, I want to look at South Carolina more." I think it's really more about the big picture of it. The quicker North Carolina falls back down to earth, the better for South Carolina. If you look back at those Steve Spurrier teams, they were recruiting a few guys, or landing a few guys, I should say, every year from that state. Melvin Ingram, the Chris Cullivers of the world, Travian Robertson, move it forward, Pharaoh Cooper, Corey Robinson, guys like that. The difference in having no guys from that state, which is the case right now, versus even just if you sign 3 or 4 from North Carolina every class, well, stack that up over 4 classes, and that's 12 to 16 guys in your on your roster. So I think the state has always been pretty important to South Carolina as far as having a roster that can compete in the East.
Yeah, I agree, Wes. And I mean, and it's also, I think, just about the general thought process of Gamecock football. I mean, over the next, to Darren's point, I don't know that it would have an immediate impact, but over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, just the way that you're thought of when you can beat teams named North Carolina or Florida, or like you the Spurrier years, Wes. I mean, there was a that group of that 4 years there when they were beating everybody. There was they didn't capitalize because internally they failed there, but you had created buzz for this football program because a generation of kids coming up in football thought that South Carolina was a player. When you lose a game like this is just my personal opinion here. I don't know how far it truly knocks you down, but I do know that it will help you in that general. I mean, think about this. Why does anybody not want to go to Charlotte? Right? Because of how they played against Virginia and how they played against North Carolina. But West, the 3 games before that, they won against NC State, North Carolina, and East Carolina. Talks about that. So it's just a general process, I think, that keeps the Gamecocks lumped into it with with potential prospects on the road.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Gamecocks in Charlotte. A lot of people that graduate from USC who go get jobs in Charlotte after that. And there's a lot of prospects in Charlotte. So really, Charlotte, say what you want about Will Muschamp and how that ended and all that stuff. The idea that, and I think Muschamp was one of the first people I heard actually say this when he said Charlotte is an in-state territory for South Carolina. That's 100% true. I mean, it should be. You should see it as an in-state territory. It's obviously right across the border, and there are players. You look at the greater Charlotte area, man. There, and somebody, Clint mentioning James Pierce, big time, talented pass rusher that South Carolina is still in on for the class of 2022. Mike Peterson was actually up that way watching his game in the playoffs this past week. Still a priority target for the Gamecocks, and that they would love to sort of stamp onto the end here of this class moving into the early signing period. So yeah, it's important, man. And it changed very quick. It was back to back. Like you said, you finished the season losing to Virginia like that. You started a season losing to North Carolina like that. It left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. You can eliminate that very, very quickly with a big win here later on this month.
Yeah, and as I pointed out earlier, when my brain was about to fall out of my head, that ballpark had nothing to do with those 2 losses. The losses had everything to do with the football team, not the state. Again, I'm not going back down that road. 1243 Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. Wes, most importantly though, what would a 7th win do here for South Carolina in your guesstimate? I mean, I know there's an early signing day coming up, I guess late next week, or early signing period, and then you got the normal quote unquote signing period in February. Kind of compare and contrast a win versus a loss up here and what it would do for the program in year 1 under Shane Beamer.
I think it's about perception. I mean, just looking at the numbers 7 and 6 just looks so much better than 6 and 7. It's a 1-game swing, but it's the difference literally in a winning season and a losing season. I think as far as recruiting is a numbers game. Really, honestly, that's what it comes down to. To me, this helps more for your underclassmen, your class of 2023 guys, your class of 2024 guys, because you're selling a vision. Most of your class for 2022 is going to be signed. Right now, I think it affects the guys who are deciding who's going to be in my top 5. Who are the schools I'm going to truly consider? Who do I want to go see for a junior day coming up, this coming February, if I'm a rising senior prospect who's about to sort of really lock down on the process. So you're trying to sell a vision to these guys. You're trying to get in the conversation. To me, recruiting is about how many difference makers can you get in the conversation with, get on your campus, leading into their decisions. And then you're not going to sign them all. You're not going to sign most of them. You're not even going to sign 25% of them. but you just have to get enough of them on your campus, enough interest in as many of these top kids as possible, and then you're going to sign a few of them. So to me, this is sort of about continuing that pod. You get it when you have a new coach, which South Carolina obviously does this year. You get a little bit of a boost in recruiting from kids kind of having their interest peaked. Well, if you can then turn around and win a few more games than anybody expects, it piques their interest in general a little bit more. So to me, just the look of 7-6 and being able to say winning season in year one, is it the end of the world if you don't get to say that? No. But does it help? Absolutely.
Wes Mitchell Sabin joining us here at 12:45 on this Monday afternoon. So as it pertains to the actual team that, is going to play in the game, Wes, the coach Beamer, nobody at this point in time is thinking about opting out. We'll see if that changes. The name obviously that comes to mind with me is JJ Enagbare or Enagbare. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But, to that point, though, if you win 7 and there is a large – I know that there are a group of players that have just gone through some grading stuff with the NFL at the end of this week. They have some decisions to make. None of those decisions have been made for those that are interested in that. They're still compiling and deciding and yada, yada, yada. Some of those players who are deciding probably need to make the decision to come back, but we'll see what happens. But as it pertains to this team itself, Wes, the wins and the losses often affect the fans more than the team. And I know that people don't like hearing, but it's true. So if they don't win the game, it's not like the locker room's going to fall apart. But if they do win the game, Wes, in your guesstimation, moving forward into off-season workouts, January, nobody realizes what happens in January. But January sucks if you're on a college football team. What do you think this provides inside of those walls?
Yeah, I think it gives you a little boost. Beamer was talking about it yesterday. Most of this team is back. There's not really obviously, Enagbare will go to the draft this year, and there are some guys with decisions. There will be some kids that will transfer that maybe have not played a ton. That's pretty much a lock. But as far as most of this team goes, most of these guys will be back. Sort of the meat of your roster will be back. Other than the guys that are already using their super senior year, there's a bunch of even seniors that are going to have decisions to make as far as whether they should come back or not. So I think there will be a good bit of carryover from this roster to the next. And so, yeah, if you win, that does, I think, give all those guys a little bit of extra momentum, a little bit of a boost going into the next season. And, there are guys that I think have decisions that absolutely will possibly play a big impact on the team next year. I mean, you look at Josh Vann, it's been, I don't know, almost assumed from some fans that he's going to leave. I can tell you, I don't think that's, locked in by any means. You look at Zaquandre White, chance that he comes back. So obviously, when you have all those different running backs that have played, we'll be paying close attention to that running back room and what those guys do. But, I think moving forward, sometimes when a season ends, you look and it's kind of like a restart because, look at North Carolina. Sam Howell, he has defined the Mac Brown era so far. He's gone after, either before or after this game. Sam Howell is gone. So I think for South Carolina, though, you look, the meat of your roster will be back for next season. So there probably is some carryover into the offseason, and you want any little boost you can get with the players going into, as you said, what is a rough, winter workouts are when you earn your keep as far as college football players go.
Anybody that's wondering what we're talking about, if you've been to a game at Williams-Brice Stadium and you're not one of the people that complains about the games but actually goes to them, that video they play in the fourth quarter, that's January. So for what it's worth. All right, Wes, so we talked about players. I'm not going to ask you the question. If I literally said, okay, everybody fill up the Share Healthcare chat lines with a question for Wes, everybody would be asking you about, well, why hasn't Marcus been fired? And if they do fire him, who are they going to replace him with, and those type things. So I'm not asking that question because you don't have the answer, and I don't think any of us do. But was it a little surprising yesterday in Shane's press conference to hear him say so definitively that, there won't be any changes on staff before the bowl game?
Yeah, maybe a little surprising, but also I think I feel like Shane Beamer has just played this. Whatever the plan is going to be with the offense moving forward, he has played it extremely close to the vest. I think it's almost like there's different levels of information that gets out of a program. And, some information coaches may keep it a little bit in-house, but it kind of leaks out because it doesn't really matter. This, on the other hand, I think anybody that tells you they know exactly what's going to happen there, they're either extremely tied in or they're just parroting what they've read on message boards and pretending like they know what's going to happen, because this thing has been very close to the vest. I think there is a plan in place, but I think Beamer, is trying to do everything he can to play it out, behind closed doors and close to the vest, and we'll all see what that looks like moving forward.
Extremely tied in would almost mean like you're Shane Beamer's brother
in his head,
and somehow y'all have been able to swap brains, because I'm saying this, not you, Wes. There's members of this staff that have no idea what's going to happen. So, for those that think they do, they don't. I know that I understand what everybody wants to see happen. And so we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But I guess where I am with it, people are trying to find reason behind decisions and no decisions, right? So you read the message boards every day, Wes. Like, there's people that speculate, well, maybe he's waiting through the bowl game because they don't have anybody else to call plays, or maybe it's because of recruiting, or maybe it's because of this. We don't know. I will ask this question though, and I'm going to ask specific to Marcus Satterfield, and this isn't to pick on him. I'm just curious. Do you know what prospects are kind of his guys that maybe he's recruited that will be signing? I don't know. So,
mainly it would be the quarterback. It would be Braden Davis. That he has been on the road. The last week he was on the road. He went up. He saw Braden Davis's game on, I guess that would have been Saturday. He was on the road with other coaches on some other stops as well. Went by Chapin, which is of course home to Jaden Bradford. But that would be the main spot would be quarterback. For the most part, though, and this is actually fairly common. I have not been a defender of the offensive product by any means. I will defend and say that for the most part, an offensive coordinator's job is more so on the field and take care of your quarterback room. If your OC is doing that and then helping out with when asked with other skill players, he's doing his job. So, I won't pile on necessarily and say, he hasn't recruited either. But I believe a point that some fans are making is if you're waiting till a later date because of recruiting, does it really matter to recruiting right now? Really, the guy I would circle and say would be Braden Davis, that the quarterback is the one he's directly involved with. And, I just part of me thinks maybe, especially as much as y'all remember the hiring process last time, and, Bobo dropping off after it looked like he was going to stay. And y'all remember fans were getting on Beamer saying, hey, hurry up. What are we waiting on? Why aren't we hired? So let's play it out. Let's say you make a move right off the bat publicly and you get rid of a coach or two. What's the first thing your fan base is going to be saying?
Who's next?
Hey, where's the hire? Guys, what are we waiting on? Can you go hire somebody? Why aren't we hiring anybody yet? It's been 7 days. It's been 8 days. It's been not like so. I don't know. Maybe Beamer doesn't want to hear about it for the entire time there's an opening. Maybe he wants to figure out the exact lay of the land and what his options are moving forward.
There's a parallel with what just happened at Miami. You might not like exactly how it all happened with rumors of a new coach before the old coach is out, but that's what happens, right? I mean, if you're going to make a move, it's really nice to have your guy before you make a move. So I'm not saying that's happening here, but
Publicly.
right? I mean, yeah, you don't want it out there, but is it happening behind the scenes? Yeah.
You at least want to know what your options are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even saying it in a way of, I'm not trying to make it sound like I think Beamer is being like deceitful or anything. I think it's more about you want to, if you're making any decision, you want to know, is my current guy the best option? What other options do I have out there? So I think for one, when Beamer says he's concentrating on recruiting, that is absolutely the case as well. They've been out on the road since the moment they could go. But also, I don't think you just blow up your staff without a plan, So I think Beamer, as far as coaching hires, if you look at it, he was incredibly thoughtful and sort of went about it at his own pace on just about every hire, except for when Bobo ditched South Carolina and he quickly hired Satterfield. So, and by all the fan bases, pretty much everyone's opinion, that's probably the one hire you look back at the results of this year and say, that's the spot where South Carolina had the biggest issues. So if I'm Shane Beamer, I'm probably saying y'all can keep asking questions and, complain all you want, but I'm going to figure out what's best for my team, my program at my own pace.
Yeah, I mean, RBSC, and we only have a couple of minutes to Wes, and we have to let him run. He says, I'm not sure I understand that answer, Wes. Is USC the only program that has to deal with these situations? If that's the case, why do other programs not do the same thing? I'm just going to – I'm speaking on behalf of myself here. Wes, you can address that if you want to. I don't know that there's an answer out there that will suffice anybody at this point in time. Because we don't have the answer. So, I mean, all we're doing is speculating. I mean, we don't know. We're coming up with reasons. Wes, you, me, anybody, JC Sherbert, those guys over at the Big Spur. I mean, everybody's got an opinion on things, and we all hear little bits and pieces of stuff, but you can only speculate on that information. None of it's concrete. Nobody knows what's going on. So, I mean, I don't know. This is RB. I'm not taking a shot at you, brother. But I just don't know that there's a real answer to any of these questions. And we're just gonna have to wait and see. We have to be patient. Sucks.
Yeah, RB. I'm just giving my opinion. Just because programs do things a certain way does not mean that it's the best way to handle it. You hire a coach and then you let him go do things the way he thinks is best. So different, y'all talked about Miami. Miami has handled now it's very different talking about a head coach, but bear with me. They've handled their deal completely different than, say, Duke is going to handle theirs or whatever. Different programs, different coaches are going to handle things differently. So yeah, I'm just giving you my opinion, man. That's really all it is. And I see the question there from Aaron. No, South Carolina is not going to be losing Justin Stepp. So I feel pretty comfortable saying that. But yeah, it's I agree. It is what it is at this point, y'all. I think most people, as you just put it, JB, everybody, and until people get their answers, their actual answers, like as far as what's going to happen moving forward, nobody's really going to be happy with anything.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Your comments on Justin Stepp, pretty. I don't know. You can't really say it much better than that. All right, real quick. Excuse me. Poison. real quick here.
Supposed to make you better, not worse.
It made Bama better this weekend, didn't it? Real quick transfers. I know we got to let you run. There's a lot of smoke out there around Spencer Rattler. Is that interest real? I'll ask that question quickly. I understand that the Stogner tight end spoke to somebody in the program. I know he had a good time for a couple of days on campus. So can you comment on those two guys quickly, and any other transfers out there that fans maybe should keep their eyes on?
Yeah, Stogner, great visit from what I hear. Was in, met with Beamer, met with Kimry. They laid out a plan for him. They really made him a priority, even though there was, they had scheduled visits to be on the road and stuff. Rattler, I believe, is certainly one to keep an eye on. That's probably the quarterback right now I would pay closest attention to. There's been speculation out there, about Quinn Ewers. I think he's more a Texas school. I hear a lot of Texas Tech right now, so they're probably one to keep an eye on, actually. Those are some of the guys I'd pay attention to right now. And then the portal, there's always new guys in it every single day, so I would keep watching the portal as well. I think Carolina would love to. It's something that hasn't been talked about as much as it should. I think they'd probably love to add a veteran offensive lineman potentially, if they could find, a tackle in there as well. That's something I would keep an eye on.
You should keep an eye on Gamecock Central as well, folks. It's a pretty busy time of the year as we head into the holiday and into bowl season. Gamecocks have North Carolina coming up in 24 days. So they'll be prepping for that. Obviously, a bunch of recruiting stuff with early signing period coming up. Transfers, coaches, you name it, always something fun to discuss or complain about at Gamecock Central. If you're not a member, you should subscribe and be one. Wes, have a wonderful week. Great report today. As always, the hair perfectly in place. Looks good for a Monday, and we look forward to do it again next week.
Thanks, guys. You have a good one, okay?
Later.
There you go. Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. Time for a timeout. When we return, we will talk plenty of Clemson and hoops and Gene Sapakoff as well. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proud, presented by Motley Rice. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. ihelpconsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Roberts, owner of Three Seeds Wellness Studios. And just like being in your favorite ballpark feels like home, our studio feels like home to our clients. We offer over 20 different services to help our guests cultivate, nourish, and grow their bodies and minds. Centrally located in the heart of West Ashley, we offer massages, facials, acupuncture, yoga classes, and everything in between, helping you become that you want to be. A complete list of services are available online, and gift cards are available both online and for curbside pickup. Go to threeseedswellnessstudios.com. Happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, 107, Monday afternoon, December the 6th. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, stokesvw.com. Make sure you've downloaded our app and at jbandgoldwatershow.com. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are, sorry, I'm getting a message about one of my kids in school. Share Healthcare chat lines are open. Yeah, you know. And you can chime in there. Sharehealthcare.com. If you want to save some money on healthcare, you might want to head to the website, sharehealthcare.com. All of you who are checking us out, the thousands of you that do every day. We know that Share Healthcare has already impacted many of your lives, and we certainly appreciate that. We know they do too. Most importantly, we're just glad it's helping. Sharehealthcare.com. All right. If you haven't submitted to win today's $100 gift card from Three Seeds Wellness Studios, you've missed out. But here's the good news. You can submit to win tomorrow's, because we're going to give another one away tomorrow. So if you head to jbandgoldwatershow.com, submit your name and who that gift card would be for, and we'll pick a winner every day. We're going to pick one here in just a little while, and looking forward to that. threeseedswellnessstudios.com stocking stuffer this holiday season. Our Gene Sapakoff's ahead at 1:30. Looking forward to that. Is the Clemson run over, Darren? And I know that Tiger fans hate when a guy with a colored shirt on asks that question, and I get it. And I'm not asking it to be a jerk, I promise you. But, you know, it's something that's certainly being talked about because, you know, national writers out there are contemplating, debating who the most intriguing team of the following season and probably thereafter will be. Brent Venables is now officially the head coach at the University of Oklahoma. There is smoke, and generally where there's smoke, like this type of smoke, there's at least a brush fire that Tony Elliott might be moving on. Where to? I don't know. Duke, Virginia. If you ask me, I'd pick Virginia. But we'll see what that looks like. Is Dan Radakovich moving on to Miami? All signs point to yes. Mario Cristobal is now officially. Manny Diaz is out. What a wild year. Are you kidding me? Look at all these. Oregon's got a job. Oklahoma, Notre Dame, LSU, Florida, Southern Cal. Unbelievable. Tyson Pumachan has left for the portal. Frank Ladson has left for the portal. There are other rumors out there. I've checked in on a couple of them, believe it or not, a couple Clemson sources that are good. Don't really know yet on some of these other big names and as to whether they will be back at Clemson or not. The question now for the Tigers, Darren, is who replaces Brent Venables. There are a lot of reasons why Clemson has done what they've done over the last decade, and he is up there at the tip top of that mountain with what he's done with that defense, man. I just, outside of Emma, Darren, is there a defense in college football that's been as consistent as Clemson? The answer is a resounding no.
Yeah.
Not Georgia, nobody. Bama and the Tigers have owned that. So, is their run over?
No.
I think it's too early to ask that question, but I understand Tigers being fearful of that. I
think the overwhelming feel is, okay, Tony Elliott, you can go. We're kind of cool with that. That's the vibe of the fan base. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of been the feel this year. But when you lose both coordinators in the same year, that doesn't seem ideal, especially when the other is Brent Venables. And there's a parallel as a Penn State fan who covers that, follows it closely as well. The parallel with Brent Pry and James Franklin, right-hand man, been with them, closest confidant, been there forever, strength of the team. And Brent Venables and Dabo Swinney. When Clemson took that next step, it was when Venables came from Norman and helped elevate Clemson to where they've been. And the consistency with which he's done that, and the defense has done that, and Dabo can, hands off, you go deal with my defense and you make it as dominant as you've made it. Having said that, it'll be a fascinating hire. I do think it makes a very strong case. Everything you laid out for Clemson being one of the most intriguing teams of 2022, certainly right now. I think Pumachan transferring is addition by subtraction. It gives you another scholarship that you can play with because he clearly wasn't good enough to play over Uyunglele. And if somebody was good enough, then they would have had more opportunities than Pumachan was actually given. I have full faith that Dabo is going to continue recruiting at an incredibly high level, that whoever he brings in is going to fit. I think from an offensive side, now, obviously, I'm not someone who cares if Clemson wins or loses. I'd like to see different blood. I do agree with the Clemson fans that are saying that. I'd like to see someone from outside come in and kind of reignite that flame a little bit. I do think that's necessary. I also think you're going to see him into the transfer portal. And I think Clemson can still be a dominant power in the ACC, and by doing that, a dominant power nationally. I don't think their run is over by any stretch, but this is going to be, outside of that time when he hired Venables, the next most important time for Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember the realm in which we have this discussion, because Clemson is one of 4 teams in the country who largely have been considered elite for almost a decade. I mean, Bama, Ohio State, in Clemson are the top 3, and then you could, for the most part, argue who that 4th is, but I'd probably put Oklahoma up there in that, certainly in that conversation. Some people are going to want to mix in Georgia and others. There's some others out there, but you can even trim that list out. Just say, give me the 3 best teams over the last 10 years, and it's going to be Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State in some order to everybody. I'd put Alabama number 1. So when you have this conversation with Clemson, you're having it a little bit differently than you would with other programs out there, because right now the downfall of Clemson is happened 9-3, which in my opinion, if your downfall is to 9-3, you got a pretty good program going. But Tiger fans are used to seeing 11-1, Darren, or 12-0, and playing in the playoff and winning national championships and things like that. I mean, they no doubt have been the strength and the most consistent thing the ACC could have dreamed of for the last 10 years. And thank God for them, because if not, they would have had literally 0 representation on a national level in the playoff. So yeah, this hire now becomes the most important thing on Dabo Swinney's desk, probably outside of hanging on to what's left in this class here. I think they have 14 commitments, and I think 7 or 8 of those guys are defensive dudes. So how many of them? I saw one today. Gosh, his name has escaped me already, but he's already said, hey, I'm still coming to Clemson, even though Coach Venables is leaving. I'm still going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So how many of these guys committed to Brent Venables and how many of these guys committed to Clemson? We're about to find out.
That's the advantage Clemson has. Stu points out, how many guys have gone through Alabama, and that's true, but that's also been consistent. Whereas this, a lot of change at the top in Clemson's program, at the top, obviously not Dabo.
Yep.
That has not been consistent. This is new. But where they are similar, we had the conversation, do recruits commit to schools? Do they commit to coaches? Dabo is the type of personality where, you might have Venables or Elliott or whoever out recruiting and be your primary recruiter. But when it comes time, I'm Dabo Swinney. I'm the head coach at Clemson. You're committing to me.
That's right.
And the program is still here. So I just don't see this impacting recruiting negatively, not right off the rip. That's for sure. Unless there's some strange hire, which I also don't expect. I fully expect it to be a splash type of hire, and one that when it's made, you shake your head and say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. There's every chance in the world that with the dudes that are going to be there, this defense can continue to be around the level that Brent Venables had.
Yeah, there's literally no negative in this job for whoever wants to apply for it. I mean, there's not a lot of pros and cons to weigh here. They're pretty much all pros, and we don't need to run down the laundry list that is them, or that is that. It's a great job, and as you mentioned, it's not like Dabo Swinney left.
Yeah,
Brent Venables left, and maybe Tony Elliott leaves too. I think the most. Thank you. There you go. Yeah, Toriano Pride, the corner from East St. Louis, which, as JC points out around here, often produces some pretty tough football players. By the way, got to feel me pretty good. What a name for a corner. I don't really know that they're going anywhere. I mean, I think that with change, there's always going to be rough waters to navigate through. I mean, Brent Venables has been there for a decade, and that's they're going to have to deal with some attrition somewhere. It's probably going to be a couple of players, or maybe they leave for the transfer portal, or maybe in the recruiting class, or maybe they have to shuffle a guy or two on staff. I think the most surprising move I would see here, Darren, and it's not going to happen, is if Dabo promoted from within to that role. But like I said, that's not going to happen. So he's got to go find somebody that's going to kind of get you in that same conversation that Brent Venables did. That was a splash hire when they signed him. That was huge. But with all that being said, it is fair to say, I mean, Clemson wasn't in the ACC championship game this year with Brent Venables. Mm-hmm. So there is a crack in the door for other programs in the league to kind of step up and compete with the Tigers much more so than they have the last 10 years. I'm not saying they will, I'm not saying they won't, and I'm not saying that anybody will do it as consistently as Clemson. It would probably be a recycled mess of programs year in and year out, because I just don't see anybody else right now who's built the foundation that the Tigers have to get to that level. But I mean, they're not where they were 4 years ago. They're not in the playoff. I mean, they did lose 3 games this year, and they played great down the stretch. Don't get me wrong. So, I mean, there's probably a little bit of pessimism out there here and there. And I think it's fair to say that, but it's also absolutely to say that, there's a reason why they've done what they've done so consistently, and that reason is still in place. Dabo Swinney. Now, and change can cause some issues here and there, but at this point in time, I they're going to be they might not be in the playoff every single year, but Clemson has a program, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair. I mean, even if you're Alabama, I don't think it's fair to expect that you're in the playoff every single year, not as long as it's a 4-team thing. Again, even if you're Alabama. So expect that? No. Be around the conversation, competing for it? Yeah, I think that's the level that Clemson's at now, and I don't expect that to slip much, because like you said, this is a slip. This was a 9-3 slip with an offense that was bad, man, like real bad, and a quarterback that somehow regressed magnificently, whether it was injuries or mental or who knows. I'm not putting it all on Tony Elliott like a lot of the fan base wants to do, because he didn't make him regress all the way back to wherever he is right now. So the offense was we know what it was. But yeah, it did get better down the stretch. If this is a crack, it's not like it's this massive crater. And again, the coaches that are now being pursued, one of which is now gone already to Oklahoma. I mean, it's never been a question of, can Brent Venables really, really do this? No, he's always been regarded as, and the defense has proved it out, one of the better defensive minds. Now, can he run his own program? Maybe. I like the hire personally.
I did too.
Yeah. So I
like Brent Venables.
I expect the hires to come in. And I expect them to be a little bit more out of the box than we've seen from Dabo. And at the same time, I think that's going to blend well. I think there's going to be kind of a reinvigorating feel with additional transfers. I mean, I've been saying this forever. So is Gene Sapakoff. There will be transfers that are going to come in. They're going to have to do that. I think you're going to see Clemson right back at the top of the ACC next year, with whoever they bring in as the defensive coordinator and possibly as a new offensive coordinator.
Why do you think, out of curiosity, this all wraps into each other? There's a lot of change happening right now. Why do you think D-Rad is more than likely headed to Miami?
That's the weird wrinkle in all that. I mean, to me, that's one of the weirder wrinkles in all of this, because if Dabo's sitting here right now, how do you go out and hire a coordinator and pay him competitive? Everybody knows what Venables has been making. So if you're going to bring in the next defensive coordinator, you better throw a whole bunch of money at him. And now you got an AD who's probably walking out the door. So what's my time frame if I'm Dabo of when I can do this? Who can sign off on this? That I don't know. That's a legitimate question here for me about what the timetable is. Other than why, I don't know. He wants a change. It's kind of my same answer for coaches too. Maybe he feels like he's accomplished everything he can accomplish at Clemson, which has been sizable. Now he's going to go become the highest paid AD in the country with a university that is now firmly behind athletics. The money they're spending to buy out two coaches and to hire Cristobal is ridiculous. And they're saying it's going to be $3 million for the AD. So they're in. I mean, they're pushing all their chips in. It could be an appealing opportunity, challenge, final stage of a career, that type of thing for D-Rad. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious as to how long Dan had been an employee in the state of South Carolina, because he was with the Gamecocks from 94 to 2000. I knew that. But so 2012 to now. So, yeah, he's not to his 20 years. He does not have those lifetime Palmetto State benefits as an employee in this state. But I was curious about it. He is going to a state, by the way, where the more money you make, the more money you keep, because it's Florida. There's no income tax in Florida. And, hey, when he retires, he's already at the beach. So there you go. So that might kind of work itself out. So one of the things that's fair and unfair with ADs, Darren, the way that I've always seen it is, everybody complains of ADs and everything that they're doing, every program and the success that each program is having, unless the football program is really good. Mm-hmm. And then they care less about how those other ones are doing. For instance, at South Carolina, 8 out of 10 people, if you ask them now, of course, if Coach Tanner asked them to their face, they wouldn't say it. But if you ask them, they'd say, Ray Tanner needs to go. He's done this, that, and the other. Well, I'm not going to get into the whole thing with Coach Tanner right now, but you would say that largely because the football program has suffered since Steve Spurrier left and Coach Tanner hired Will Muschamp. And that has spilled over into the lack of success in the last few years in Gamecock basketball. Gamecock baseball has not been Gamecock baseball. For those that, I am one of those people that has the highest of expectations for Gamecock baseball every year. I don't care if people don't. I do. Carolina should be in the postseason every year in baseball. There's no doubt about it. But you would hear less and less about that if the football program was doing what Clemson's football program has done. I'm using that as an example to say this. There could be major decisions to be made in 2022 at Clemson pertaining to, even though he just got an extension not too long ago, Brad Brownell. They're 5-4 starting the year. And Tiger fans, it's been like, okay, when they're good, yeah, we'll keep him. But when they're bad, no, we don't want him. And then obviously, a lot of folks,
he's got 12 lives. I mean,
yeah,
the Brownell saga is something.
Yeah, it's up and down. and down and up and down. And I'm just saying, I'm not speculating, Darren. I'm not trying to create some false narrative out there. I know that, but with that, there's some people that think this is year for Monty Lee. I personally would never find Monty Lee with anything, but I have a personal relationship with him. But it's about winning, and Tiger baseball wants to win. So, there could be some big decisions being made in the spring on both of those sports. And let's say it goes south. Dan's got to make a couple decisions there. I'm asking the question. I'm not speculating here, and this is not my opinion because we just talked about it for 15 minutes, but is the football program maybe starting to take a step backwards? Maybe. I don't know, but I'm just saying it's not all rosy. Clemson's in the playoff. The Clemson baseball team isn't in the postseason every year winning. The basketball team isn't what everybody wants it to be. And I'm not saying Dan Radakovich is running from anything. He never has. Maybe it's an opportunity for him where he is saying his mind from a professional standpoint. I've done all I can do at Clemson. This has been a wonderful experience for me here. And I'm going to go do this at Miami. I'm going to go try to get them going down there. And best of luck to the Tigers up here. And we hope to see you in an ACC championship game here and there.
Yeah. And I'm going to be a hero. If I can go to Miami and win, right. I mean, yeah. I don't know to what level, but let's say some significant level of winning. Maybe it's an ACC championship. They want more than that. Get them to a playoff, threaten a national championship. You brought in Cristobal, your guy, obviously. Okay, not obviously. I'm assuming, because these rumors are very tied in, an Oregon paper is the one that broke Radakovich likely heading down to Miami. So if this is all tied in together and you want a new challenge, hey, let's go make a boatload of money. Let's see if I can get the U back and then sail off into the sunset with a resume. Literally. And with a resume and a list of achievements behind me that says national champ at Clemson, national champ at Miami, I don't know, Hall of Fame career as an athletic director. That's appealing to me.
I agree. It's this is an interesting time at Clemson. And for Tiger, I mean, I don't want to say it that way because it sounds so stupid and snobby. I have no reason. Clemson, at least in football, own my Gamecock. So this is not a rivalry thing, but I'm trying to speak about this from having a broad conversation here. I would just say it this way for fans at Clemson that think, well, we're just going to be fine. You don't know that. I'm not saying they won't be. I personally think they will be.
I agree. I think they will be.
But these big changes at one time, that things can happen and you don't really see it, and then you look up 4 or 5 years and you go, what happened? Like, how did we get here? And you come back to these type of conversations and you go, wow, that's probably when it happened. I mean, it was literally happening right underneath the nose at the University of South Carolina 7-8 years ago, and nobody saw it. And pertaining to the football, not the success that Clemson's having, but pertaining to the football program, it was like, oh man, this thing's rolling, and Ellis Johnson's moved on to do other things, and this guy and that guy, and we're promoting from within, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And then literally out of nowhere, it was like, what happened around here? It can happen that fast. So, it's not a warning shot. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk. I really don't want it to come off that way, Darren, but my job is to talk about it, and we've seen it. I'd be careful. We'll see.
The advantage Clemson has, and it goes back to what I said about recruiting, right? They're committing to Clemson. They're committing to Dabo as much, if not more, than the guy who's actually recruiting them. And now, who's the most popular guy? Not popular, powerful is the word I was going for. Now and before, whether Radakovich goes or stays, the most powerful guy on that campus is Dabo Swinney. So whoever comes in inherits a situation where he's got a rock star of a football coach and a rock of a foundation there that in its crack could win 10 games. So I wouldn't expect this hire to drastically impact the football side of things. The other sides, that's up in the air, because the other sides, then it comes to what's the relationship like between Radakovich and, let's just use the two guys you named, Brownell and Monty Lee. What's the relationship going to be like with the next guy? Because when change happens at the top and programs aren't always going great, I mean, we talk about it with every program here.
No doubt.
That's when changes happen. Dabo will be immune from that, at least for a considerable amount of time, as he just runs his program over here and does and gets whatever he wants. The other side of things is where I think it should be watched.
Yeah, it's an interesting time for Clemson, man. I agree, Dan. It's incredibly interesting. We'll certainly see where that goes. I know where we're going to break, because when we return, Gene Sapakoff will join us with the Post and Courier right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
All right, guys and gals, we all know it's the holiday season and you've opened up your playbook for gift giving. Don't dig too deep, because I have the perfect stocking stuffer for your favorite teammate. Gift cards and baskets from 3 Seeds Wellness Studios in West Ashland. Luckily, my wife doesn't listen to our show, or she would know what Santa's delivering from the North Pole. Check out 3seedswellnessstudios.com for gift cards and their retail store, and have their elves stuff a gift basket full of holiday magic. 3 Seeds Wellness Studios, 3seedswellnessstudios.com to score this holiday season.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Final segment, Monday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. All this bowl talk around here, and I want to make sure that we mention the Cricket Celebration Bowl coming up on December the 18th, which is a Saturday. They're going to kick it off at noon on ABC in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. For those who don't know, It's prime time. Neon Deion Sanders and Jackson State versus Buddy Pugh and the South Carolina State Bulldogs on national television. That's going to be really neat. A MEAC SWAC matchup there. For Gamecock fans and for Summerville football fans that maybe don't realize this, one of the up-and-coming offensive coordinators in the sport is in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and that is former Carolina quarterback and Summerville quarterback Bennett Swigert, who is a great guy, and he's a hell of a coach, and he's a name to keep an eye on over the coming years, moving his way up through the coaching ranks. He can dial them up in a hurry, and he's running the offense there for Coach Pugh and the Dogs. So congratulations to them getting into the 2021 Cricket Celebration Bowl. We always celebrate with Gene Sapakoff when we have him on the air, and we do again here on a day with literally nothing to talk about. What's up, Gene?
Guys, what is going on? I hope you have your Christmas shopping done.
You just reminded me of Jim Rome, the way you just, what's up? It's like the energy in the jungle. I'm Gene Sapakoff.
Yeah, right.
We don't have our. Do you have? Wait a second. Do you have your Christmas shopping done?
Not yet, but
Oh.
I will be going downtown to King Street to Kyle's Sweater Emporium to get you guys a gift, because I walked by there and they have all kinds of sports ugly sweaters in the window.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. I'll take anything, anything at all. I'm a big ugly sweater. So look here, Gene, you'll appreciate this. Obviously I have a job to do every day. But you know, my family has been in the Gamecock Club for over 50 years. And 5 years ago, we rotate our family Christmas party every year. So 5 years ago, all the aunts and uncles said, "To hell with this. We're not doing it anymore. It's the next generation. Y'all are teed up." So all of us cousins, we started, you know, I took the second one. So 6 years ago. So 5 years ago, it was our turn to host, my wife and I, and she was my fiance at the time. And we decided we would add some zazz to the family Christmas party. And each year we'd come up with a different theme. And the first theme was ugly Christmas sweaters. So she kept asking me, is it the ugliest or the worst? And I said, well, it's the same thing, Carrie. Just put on an ugly sweater. And she wouldn't tell me what it was. And she came downstairs after my whole family had gotten there with a Clemson sweatshirt on with Christmas trees on it. And my uncle, who was 75 years old at the time, literally almost keeled over and had a heart attack. And he asked me, he said, "She's not really a Clemson fan." She said, "No, sir, she's not. She did the ugliest Clemson or the ugliest sweater." So we gave us the gift card that we had bought for somebody else to win.
That's quite the Yuletide story, Jamie.
Yeah.
Bring joy into the hearts of everybody as much as chestnuts roasting in the microwave.
I married somebody smarter than me. I didn't know what she was getting at, but nonetheless. Well, Gene, we're into bowl season. So I don't know where you want to start, but I guess we'll just start with the mayonnaise bowl. I'm a big fan of mayonnaise. I hope you are as well, but it's a border battle between the Tar Heels and the Gamecocks. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's the perfect bookend thing for me, because I started this football season at the Duke's Mayo Classic watching Georgia play Clemson, and everybody in the press box got a free jar of Duke's mayonnaise with Georgia and Clemson helmets on it. So, you know, if I go to the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl, I expect a free jar of mayonnaise sitting at my seat in the press box with Gamecock and Tar Heel helmets on.
I think that's fantastic. I'm a big fan of mayonnaise. I'd make a bunch of sandwiches sitting there. What do you think about the actual map itself, Gene, with South Carolina overachieved this year? They underpromised and they overdelivered, and North Carolina largely underachieved what they were shooting for.
This is a great matchup for South Carolina for a few reasons. For one thing, you know, going to the Gasparilla Bowl or going to Birmingham, you're going to play somebody like a Western Michigan or Houston or somebody like that. You would rather play, for all kinds of reasons, a team from a Power 5 conference. For one thing, it's just good television. And for another thing, if you lose, it's not as bad. It's just a good thing. It looks better for recruiting. And that's one of the names of the game here as you build up to the game, not what actually happens in the game. Who knows how many opt-outs there's going to be on either side. But I really like it. And then just from the fan perspective, I mean, it's so convenient for Gamecock fans. And as you guys know, the University of South Carolina is one of the great business schools in the country. There are so many Gamecock alums that live and work in Charlotte, particularly in the banking business. And I will bet you that there will be more Gamecock fans than Tar Heel fans on the scene. And like I said, I think that as much as they overachieved in the season, they overachieved in this bowl selection process, because early on it looked like maybe, Birmingham or Gasparilla in Tampa.
Well said, Gene Sapakoff. I'm so happy you said that, because there's a percentage of the fan base that they wake up and they just don't they don't put the screws in for whatever reason, and they fall apart. This is, first of all, I've been to this game. It's a good experience outside of the ballpark for anybody that hasn't been there. They block the street off. There's a bunch of stuff going on. There's bands playing and food vendors and all kinds of stuff for kids to do. But Gene, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, although there's been some pessimism and people are unsure about the coaching staff and what's going to happen there, the Clemson loss, at the end of the day, how is this not viewed a win for Carolina? Nobody even dreamed that they were going bowling this year.
Yeah, I don't know what people think. First of all, in a vacuum, I mean, yeah, you're coming off a 30-0 loss to Clemson, but I'm telling you right now, you wake a South Carolina fan up in their sleep in July and say you're going to have 6 wins and you're going to play North Carolina in a bowl game. That's pretty cool, and I just think it's a really good, as you said, overachievement for Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks this first year, just about no matter what happens in that game. I mean, if they lose 30-0, it's kind of a sour taste, but still they made a bowl game. They got the extra practices. It's good to be, the coaches are so busy out on the recruiting trail this week, last week, and next week, that's what they're saying. Hey, we're in a bowl game against North Carolina. That sounds pretty good to me if you're trying to sell a recruit on positive optimism going forward.
He's been putting lipstick on the pig all year long, Gene. I mean, this is like a gold mine for Shane Beamer to be able to turn into. I mean, he's going to have some people out there convinced that they were playing in the playoff. And I'm being serious. I mean, he's got a
positive thing to sell now, not just lipstick on the pig.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? You're right about that. And he's very good at putting lipstick on the pig. And in one of the key things, within all that is that he has done a tremendous job of not throwing this current roster under the bus while also pointing toward the future. Not once did I ever hear him say, wait till I get my guys in or anything like that. I mean, he said how important recruiting is. Of course it is. I mean, that is self-evident, but I think he's really done a great job of walking that tightrope in getting the seniors on this team to buy in while also selling the future. And I don't know how it's going to go next year. I think it's a huge year for him. I think the opener at Arkansas, the SEC opener at Arkansas, is a huge game for him. But right now, I'm giving him credit for overachieving in the 2021 debut season for Shane Beamer.
Wow. You just said something I don't know that anybody's really thought about, because that happens very often in football, Gene, when you have a coaching change and all they talk about is needing to get better players. And he has never said that. Not one time. Not publicly, at least. That's a great point. I think you should write a column about that, Gene. It might make somebody stop and smell the roses. For the Tigers, there's a lot going on before they get to play in the Cheez-It Bowl against 7-5 Iowa State. Brent Venables is now coach at Oklahoma. All signs point to D-Rad heading south to South Beach with Mario Cristobal, who's now apparently an $80 million man for the Hurricanes. It's like $8 million a year for 10 years. That must be a trend, the 10-year deal. They've got some guys who are in the portal, Pumachan and Ladson, namely Tony Elliott could be moving on. How do you summarize what the Tigers are dealing with right here as they go for their 10th win in what is considered a quote-unquote down season?
they thought they had unprecedented newness coming into this year with a new quarterback and a new running backs coach and a new tight ends coach and a bunch of new players, a lot of injuries, etc. Obviously, unprecedented change coming forward with Tony Elliott, likely to me to end up at either Duke or UVA. And, that it's going to be really intriguing to see what Clemson looks like next year. And even who is the starting quarterback when they open the season on a Monday night at Georgia Tech. I'm not sure it's going to be DJ Uiagalelei. Maybe it's going to be Cade Klubnik, the freshman coming in from Austin, Texas. But I will say this. Before you buy shorts on Clemson future, let me point out that anytime that Dabo Swinney has made a major change, something positive has happened. When he fired Billy Napier, he brings in Chad Morris, who had only been in college football for 1 year, and Clemson in 2011 made great strides from a losing season in 2010. He fired Kevin Steele, brought in Brent Venables. That obviously was, a grand slam home run, not just a home run. And when Chad Morris left, a lot of people were wondering, you're going to just give this to these staff guys, Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott? Well, that worked out as well or better than when Chad Morris was there. So I think Dabo Swinney will do a good job in making these promotions. I'm not saying they'll be Brent Venables or Tony Elliott level guys, certainly not at first, but I think he knows what he's doing as far as organizing a coaching staff.
Gene Sapakoff is a 7-time and should be 17-time Sports Writer of the Year in the state of South Carolina with the Courier. I think you make a really brilliant point. I would ask the same question about the athletics department as a whole, Gene. Dan Radakovich, which this will be now the third AD technically that Dabo Swinney has coached underneath with football. But D-Rad, if he heads south, what do you think this means overall with Clemson? I mean, I'm trying to summarize this here a little bit. Brad Brownell is seemingly on and off the hot seat game by game. He has been for 5 years, so you don't ever truly know. But if you have a new AD, no strings to Brad Brownell, there could be something there. Monty Lee has a lot to prove, unfortunately, to folks moving forward. I would never fire Monty Lee if he was the groundskeeper in my neighborhood. I think he's the best at everything he does. But that's me personally now. So, when you look at Clemson as a whole, it's been a pretty stable athletics department for largely 10 years under D-Rad. But what do you think could change if he leaves?
I don't know. It's a really weird legacy for Dan Radakovich. He made a lot of changes that have to do with financial things and tickets and fans and, raising money, arranging the athletic department and things like that. He made not very many significant coaching hires relative to the length of his tenure. He did not hire Dabo Swinney. He did not hire Brad Brownell. His major hires were Monty Lee replacing Jack Leggett and Amanda Butler as the women's basketball coach. So, that's kind of strange, but he rode the Dabo Swinney train for sure. Clemson made a lot of money and did a lot of financial rearranging during Dan Radakovich's tenure. He's very, very good at financial management. He learned a lot of that from Mike McGee, where he was in that athletic department at South Carolina, where they had so many good people. I'm going to forget them if I try to name them all, but, Brad Edwards was one of them. And just so many other people. And then he came from LSU and was the athletic director at Georgia Tech. So I think Clemson's going to go out and make a big time hire for athletic director here. I would seriously doubt it's a promotion from within.
One name you admitted there, you didn't forget him because nobody could ever forget this gentleman, and he is one, Jeff Barber, who's the CSU AD right now. Is he a name to keep an eye on if Dan Radakovich leaves? I mean, this is going to be a major national search for Clemson, obviously, but Jeff Barber, he's done a fantastic job at Charleston Southern. Coach Tanner in the next couple of years could be looking to retire to the beach somewhere. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think Jeff Barber's done a great job at CSU, and he definitely was a part of that and is a very smart guy. I don't know how he would fit in at Clemson. Their MO in athletic department hires before was Terry Don Phillips came from Arkansas. Big boy job. Dan Radakovich has been at South Carolina and LSU, but then was the athletic director at Georgia Tech. Huge big boy job. And I think that the man or woman that they bring in for this athletic director position will probably have come from a Power 5 school where they will have done good things.
No question. Gene? All right, the top 4 is in place. We know what the playoffs look like. I can imagine you differ with the top 4, right? You agree with those rankings?
Yeah, it's exactly as I think, I thought it would be after the dust settled on Saturday and some of the games worked out. Cincinnati was not upset. Oklahoma State didn't win. It could have been, Alabama getting blown out. There could have been all kinds of chaos. But as it's just an uncanny situation, Darren and Jamie, the way this works out in this 4-team playoff thing, there's rarely a controversy at the end of the day on the last Saturday of conference championship games. It's just so bizarre. The Baylor TCU controversy of, I think it was 2014 or 15 or something, is still about one of the biggest ones. Alabama getting in as a number 4 that one year, and then they won it all. But it's just amazing to me how crazy it could have been going into Saturday. And then by, late Saturday night, it's like, we know who the 4 are, and we pretty much know exactly the slots 1 to 4.
Is there, just out of curiosity, with expansion on the horizon, if they went to 12 teams today and said, yeah, forget it, next month we're going to play 12 teams, is there a team 5 through 12, Gene? And this is probably a hard question because I don't know if you're staring at the rankings, but is there a team that's outside of the top 4, inside the top 12, that you would say, yeah, I don't care who you are in the top 4, I don't know that I want to play that bunch right now?
I think Ohio State's really good. They had a bad day against Michigan. That was a weird matchup. I still think that is a very dangerous team, and that they might, definitely be one of the top 4. Maybe they're even one of the top 3. I think C.J. Stroud is just a terrific player, and they just had a bad day, and Michigan had a great day. But yeah, that's the team, I think. As far as a team that could maybe do some damage as sort of a, outlier team or something, Pitt has looked pretty good. That Western Michigan loss really, really hurt them. But I'm not saying they could win the national championship or anything. To answer your question, Ohio State.
Yeah. How about Ole Miss?
Oh, I think Ole Miss is terrific. And I think Lane Kiffin knows how to handle big moments. And that offense would really baffle some people. The defense is a little better than you think. And Matt Corral is a heck of a player.
Yeah. By the way, Pittsburgh, if it was 1 through 12 today, Pittsburgh at 12 would be the only representative of the ACC in this year's playoff, which is astounding. I asked you that question, Gene, simply because I think Darren brought up a very interesting point, very similar to what you just said earlier in the show, and the fact that this year we know who the top 4 teams are, and Cincinnati does deserve to be a top 4 program, but the process to get there with 12 could be fun if you look at 5 through 12 and those matchups and kind of how they would play out. Ohio State and Utah, look how well Utah's playing right now at 11-6. So an expansion of the playoffs in some years probably could really, screw some things up for a top 4 team here and there. But at the end of the day, right now, it more looks like it just might be more fun to get to what we already knew were the top 4 teams in that process if it was 12 teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There'd probably be a system where there's some buys and so forth in a 12-team playoff. I think there would be. But let's say it's 1 versus 12. That's intriguing. I mean, Kenny Pickett and Pitt against an Alabama secondary that had been their weakness. It didn't look like it on Saturday against Georgia, but I mean, that secondary has been very vulnerable, and that could be a fun game. And if 1 through 12 is a fun game, then the rest of them are. But like I said, I think in a 12-team playoff, there's going to be buys in the first round.
Yeah. All right. What changed this weekend in the Heisman race?
Someone won it.
Well, Bryce, I mean, I have a vote, and we're not supposed to say who we voted for, but I'll say that Bryce Young's going to win in a landslide, and that a few California quarterbacks will be going to New York. C.J. Stroud's from California, Bryce Young's from California, Matt Corral's from California. Kenny Pickett is not, and he may well be in there, but it's going to be a landslide victory for Bryce Young, and wow, did he look good against the Bulldogs.
So is Bama, I mean, they're 1, so perceivably they're the favorite now. They just beat the team that has been 1 all year long. How wide is that gap with the playoffs starting with Bama at 1, Brown doing what he's doing, probably as a Heisman winner when this sucker kicks off on New Year's Eve? How wide is the gap of Bama and then 2, 3, and 4, or is it that wide?
No, I think it's pretty tight. I think Michigan is a really good team with a good defense, and they're playing better and they're getting hot at the right time. The only thing is, the coaching staffs at Alabama and Georgia have been through this before, and this is a huge, huge spot for Jim Harbaugh and company. This is not going to be playing the Iowa Hawkeyes. This is going to be really different for them, playing Georgia or Alabama. I mean, obviously they play Georgia, but even if they win that, then Alabama. This is a different kind of thing. So I think the coaching staff thing could really come into play, and that we'll probably have an all-SEC championship game in Indianapolis in Big Ten territory of all places.
Was that result Saturday night or Saturday evening between Bama and Georgia? Were you surprised by that?
I was stunned. I mean, I thought Alabama might win, but if they did, I thought it might be some sort of close, low-scoring game, and I really thought Georgia would win. I kind of liked Alabama in those points, which I believe was like 6.5 or 7 or something. But again, something like a 20-17 game or something like that. That was brilliant. Bill O'Brien got a lot of crap this year from Alabama fans in particular. He called a heck of a game against what I think is a triumvirate of defensive coordinators for Georgia. In Dan Lanning actually has the title, but Kirby Smart is a genius at that. And don't think that Will Muschamp doesn't have a heck of a lot to do with how that defense runs, because I put the binoculars on him throughout both the Clemson and South Carolina wins for Georgia this year, and he is doing a hell of a lot of coaching when the Bulldogs are on defense.
You're not speculating there. That is 100% truth. Yeah, you don't have Will Muschamp on your sideline and not have him involved in the defense, as much as Carolina fans don't want to hear that. He is a hell of a defensive coach. Gene, here's why I asked you that question, because had it worked out the way that, I actually picked Alabama to win the game. I thought they would win the game, and I thought it'd be something like 17-13, low scoring. I totally agree with you. I thought it'd be something strange happened, and they won. Had they won the game, but like that, do you think they'd be number 1 today, or would Michigan be number 1 with that 39-point victory over Iowa?
I think Michigan would be number 1.
Yeah,
I think that decisive victory is what put Alabama over the top, and that's kind of what Gary Barta indicated, the University of Iowa athletic director and, the chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, basically was hinting or said that. So, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to get sorted out, and I think these are pretty interesting games. I think there is a lot of pressure on Cincinnati to hold up the AQ end here in the group of 5, and I should say, to see if, you're the deserving team. If they get blown out, that's going to be in the mind of committee selection people for several years whenever a 5 name comes up.
You're right, but you know what? I'll argue this on behalf of the G5. That's not fair, in my opinion, because we see blowouts every year in the college football playoff, and Cincinnati would be no different from Notre Dame and many other teams out there that get their rear ends kicked every single year. But to your point, they're a G5 team, so it's going to be doubled down on them.
Yeah, it's hard enough now as it is.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It is unfair. I mean, Notre Dame hasn't done well in the playoffs. Let's say that, and Cincinnati though could be judged more harshly. That's just the way it is. It's unfair, and hopefully it becomes kind of a moot point, because even if we go to 8, that's going to help the group of 5, and if we go to 12, I think they're going to have a guaranteed spot.
More eyes in the national championship: Georgia, Bama, or Michigan, Cincinnati?
Yeah. I'm going to have to say Georgia, Bama.
Probably.
Yeah. I just think that even though people kind of have, Alabama fatigue, Clemson fatigue, Georgia fatigue, Southern football fatigue, that's just a pretty intriguing matchup. Yeah, having said all that, I mean, an ideal thing would be a more national sort of thing, but that's why we have to go to 8. There needs to be a Pac-12 team and a Big 12 team and an ACC team besides Clemson occasionally in this thing. And to have years and years no Pac-12 representation is not a national tournament. It just isn't. It's not like basketball or baseball. It's not like the NFL or MLB. You have to have national representation in your showcase tournament.
I'll say this, though. Michigan, Alabama would have more eyeballs than Georgia, Alabama would have.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Very good point, Darren.
Oh, no question. You bring the whole Big Ten fan base in, even those that hate Michigan. They're going to want to watch it. Yeah, I agree. You know what? I'm an SEC guy, but I'm pulling for Michigan to get in there. I really want to see them in the national championship.
If I had a Michigan flag, I'd be flying it.
If you're a Gamecock fan.
I've never said that in my life, but if I had a Michigan flag, Rod Bradley, who owns Dog and Duck, I told him. Go Big Blue, baby.
Hey, if you're a Gamecock fan or a Clemson fan, and you're in some – I know Clemson fans aren't, but if you're a Gamecock fan and you're in some way, shape, or form pulling for Georgia just because they're an SEC team, what are you thinking? My God, you need them to lose as much as they can. No. Go Wolverines and Harbaugh and all that time contract stuff. All right, Gene, what's in the paper this week? There's no way you'll have anything to do this time of the year. It's the holidays. You're sipping eggnog somewhere on a beach, right?
Absolutely, with a little schnapps in it. But, we'll probably do some slight breaking down of who might replace Brent Venables as defensive coordinator for the Tigers, and then we'll see what happens with Tony Elliott, maybe going to Duke or Virginia, and the athletic director situation. Just call it the Clemson Holiday Shuffle. Also, I will have a piece on the 2021 year, the zany, amazing, crazy, productive, internationally impactful year that Dawn Staley has had as they go into a big home game on Sunday against Maryland. Just look at what's happened to her. Final Four, great recruiting class, Olympic gold medal, now number 1 in this season, and just all kinds of other drama in her life. So that'll be really interesting. And what a schedule they've had with, and they still have Maryland and Stanford coming into Columbia before the end of the year.
It's December, wild in Columbia. I know we're over time here. I just have to ask, if Tony Elliott has been offered or is offered both Duke and Virginia, in your opinion, what's a better landing spot for him?
Slight lean to Virginia, because I think he can get to ACC championship games, plural, from there. But the Duke job is really intriguing because I think if you win some there, it can be a great launching point to just about any job in the country for him.
Yeah, maybe like Steve Spurrier. Well, it's another. I love the Dukies. Yeah, go Duke. Well, Gene, there you go. We finished it with had to get a Spurrier voice in there. Thank you, man. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
You guys too. Thanks for having me on the show.
There you go, Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier. 2 minutes past due, overdue. Timeout. 22-hour timeout. How can I help you? iHelpConsulting.com. Save your business money. Save your business money. You only pay if you save. Trust me. They're doing it all over the state. iHelpConsulting.com. Owned by our dear friend, who I talked to this morning. I love him, Daniel Owens. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you? Wes and Gene were very helpful because I don't know about this stuff. That's why we have them around here. And Darren, thank God. We have Mike Morgan tomorrow. We have Keith Alsep tomorrow. Yep. We'll get more basketball in tomorrow. We didn't argue enough about basketball. We got to argue about that tomorrow. For Darren, I'm Jamie. Have a wonderful, marvelous Monday afternoon at the Dog and Duck, where there's great deals and wonderful specials every day. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.